So who do we have here?
This is Snookie.
Snookie, that's right. And you have him labeled as human aggressive?
Huh?
You have had him labeled as human aggressive?
Yes.
Okay, fill me in.
So he will go at, the biggest thing with him is that he's just reactive to people. I'm his only handler. So he doesn't like to be handled by like anyone else as far as like touching, picking up. But like, you know, he goes at people's feet.
I see.
Like he will nip at your feet. Or like he's nipped at, like if he's sleeping, which I know that you're not supposed to like touch a dog when they're sleeping and stuff. He has nipped someone, you know, who like touched him while he was asleep.
Sure.
So I think that's his biggest issue.
Okay.
I mean, he could, like, if I tell him to sit, he'll sit. He's potty trained. It's just he will go at your feet or anybody that like comes in my space or his space. He just doesn't really like it.
Okay. So I'm gonna test it now. This here is a bite sleeve. Okay. So I'm gonna touch him with this. He doesn't know if this isn't a bite. Okay. This is gonna be evaluate if he really means it or if he's just goofing. Okay. So stand as you are. Go ahead and bring him forward a little bit. Just pull him out. Yep. How old is he?
He's 5.
Okay. It's a little bit more. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Going to pull forward. Yep. Yep. Good. Almost. There we go. Good. All right. So I'm gonna hand him back to you.
Okay.
Okay, here you go. Excellent. So he's definitely got some aggression there. But because he's smaller, he's not really doing bite bites, which you saw, which is a lot of this. Part of it is what we call piano biting. It's rapid fire, but he's not really doing anything. If that makes sense. As opposed to a dog.
Yeah, who will grip, yeah.
Exactly. So what I did is I went and I put what's called social pressure on him because he's like, hey, stay away from me, right? So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to touch you because that's the very thing he does not want.
Mm-hmm.
So because I'm doing the thing he doesn't want, but then also he can't escape the situation, right? So that's when I took the leash as well. That's when dogs get really heightened, and that's when we're going to see the worst. Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably put him like at a 4, maybe a 6, you know, and that might just be because of his size and like, again, he wasn't doing full mouth biting. He's just doing a lot of this.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't know how to handle it, obviously, it could escalate, or even a little bit could cause damage. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So what is your goal for him, for Snookie?
So my goal is like, okay, he's not really around a lot of people, but when he is, I don't want him to be attacking people's feet or hands or, you know, I don't want him to be aggressive.
Uh-huh.
And he's been attacked twice.
By a dog?
By a dog.
Okay.
So I don't like, ever since his first attack is when I started noticing this aggression. Uh-huh. And then with the other dog, I mean, he already was kind of like, but I don't know if that made it any better.
I see. And does he have any dog friends?
No.
No. You know, other than you, that's
Other than me, no. And then when I take him to get boarding, you know, he's not neutered
okay.
or spayed or whatever.
Sure.
So they don't interact him with other dogs. So he really doesn't have any real dog interactions. Every time, like, you know, I try to interact him like what with the one dog, he attacked him, but he was bigger than him. So
The other dog was bigger than you.
the other dog was bigger than him.
Was it bad? Like, was it?
It was like, yeah, real bad.
How long ago was this?
That was a year ago.
Okay. And you've had him for how long?
5 years.
5 years. Okay. And the other one, how long ago was that one?
That was maybe 3 years.
3 years. Gotcha. Okay. And then when did he start having these behaviors?
Really, like after the first year, after him being attacked.
Okay.
And that
And
was
you got
in
him as a puppy?
2022. Yeah, I got him as a puppy.
Okay.
You know, I've done little training with him, like the sit, the puppy training, and all of that stuff.
Were you the one that called about medication?
No.
No. Okay. Somebody had called about if we thought that medication for the dog was going to help or hurt the training. Because it was another aggression case. Gotcha. Okay. And then, so why now? Why looking to address it now?
Because I don't, like my aunt was coming into the door and he nipped her feet, you know.
Is she okay?
She's okay, but it drew blood, like, you know, he got her.
Sure.
You
Was
know.
it punctures or just like a scrape?
It was like scrape, puncture.
Okay.
It drew
I
blood.
gotcha. Yeah. Maybe just like broke the skin a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I gotcha.
And like he's done it to me too. Like, so my initial training, like, when it goes to like a leave it, right? I don't know if this has to do with anything, but like my training was, okay, cover the dog food with your foot. And he did that at first fine. But then one time, like, I covered the food and he bit my foot.
A trainer tells you to do this?
Right.
I gotcha.
So this was like his puppy train. This is his puppy training.
I see.
You know, and like.
And that was before the first attack?
That was probably now after.
Okay. So pretty much normal dog, but then got attacked. And then after that, it was like a switch.
It was a switch. He became aggressive.
Yeah. It's fairly common. So I don't know if you heard with the last client, when we get puppies, 6 months, a year, and 2 years are when we expect there to be behavioral shifts. Okay, kind of like with kids, you know, when we become a teenager, like there's a personality shift there, right?
Right.
You grow and all that stuff. Same thing for dogs. And then what can also happen is sometimes, like the client will be at the dog with the puppy at a dog park, and then they get attacked by a dog when they're around 6 months, and those two things together is like a switch.
Right.
So the dog has a problem. It can also happen outside of those time frames. I've had a client, her dog was like 3 years old, same thing, attacked by an off-leash dog, and the next day, reactive.
Yeah.
Okay, so stuff like that does happen. All it does is it helps us understand why, but it doesn't do anything for the solution. Okay, solution's always going to stay the same, and it's just discipline consequence. Okay, now before booking this, did you read up on like how I train, the methods I use, the tools I use?
Yeah. You were referred to me by the Dillons. I don't know if you know
Oh, yeah,
the
Nathaniel.
Dillons. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Blue.
referred. Yep. So.
I trained Blue a long time ago.
And I know he did the shock collar and
Yeah,
all
he
that
did.
stuff. So, you know, he's pretty well trained. So.
Yeah, I trained Blue since he was a puppy.
Yeah.
And then we did all the puppy stuff, and then he wanted to continue doing stuff, so we went to the remote color. Yeah. So, do you know what the technology is by any chance?
Yeah, I read up on, like you said, it's like the tins,
And
like
do
the little.
correct, some muscle stimulator. It's more so just how people, because we understand electric, right? Like we think electrocution plus like in the dog train, all the drama, whatever, right?
Right.
But I had 2 Frenchies right now that are training on e-collar.
Okay.
One of them, so it's Franklin and Winston. Franklin is attacking Winston. So Winston's the original one. He's like,
So they live together.
Correct.
Okay.
And then out of nowhere, you know, Franklin started attacking Winston, and then it became once in a year, then it became once every 6 months, and it became once a month or once a week. It just started, snowballing. So then we're doing the training right now. So remote collar is perfectly safe to use on small dogs. It's just a muscle stimulator. It's very easy to understand. It's easy to implement. You get on and off leash control. The tricky part is the behavioral stuff. Okay, so like for example, let's say he's territorial over you.
Yes.
I can't make him like people coming into your space. Now we can address the territorial behavior for sure, but it's more so kind of just tolerating. But then if somebody moves the wrong way or they do something incorrectly, there's just liability risk there, right? So then I help you uh, take what you've learned from the training and use it to have them safely coexist with people. Okay. Now we can press things, so that's like, let's say you're having a get together, a family get together, right? You don't want him just barking at everybody.
Right.
There are exercises that we can do to help him open up to them, and I would say like uh, see them as family, right? But there's no guarantee that he will. So it's a mixture of we can press him to make him more social, but if that doesn't work, well then we have control over him, so he's not going to do the bad stuff anyways. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference is I can have 10 people come over. I can tell him to go to his bed, and he's not going to move for 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell my guests, hey, I got my dog in my bed. I leave him alone. He won't bother with you if you don't bother with him.
Right.
Right? But he's not really learning to like them or become a member of the family. He just coexists with everybody, right? Behavior is when we want him to be able to coexist with the family and like want to be there and like them touching him or whatever, right? That's the behavioral one. But that one's more complicated. That one takes more time because we're trying to change a very major thing with the dog. Okay. It also requires the use of a muzzle. Just because if we have people petting them, we have to take precautions just in case, right?
Right, because I'm like, if I have children or if I have children come over, like, he's definitely not, like, I don't even trust him. He's very unpredictable. Like, he could be okay, but then, he'll snap at your feet. Or, like, I don't know.
When does he snap at people? One was your aunt, you said coming in, right?
She was coming into the door, and then often, like, he would just, if she's walking past, he'll try to go at her feet.
Like he's hanging out?
Like he's hanging out. And if she were to walk past, definitely, he's going to try to go for her feet. Or, like, if he's sitting on the couch and she's walking past, he gets, like, I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds like he's being a bully.
Yeah, he's just really, especially really, he's just being a bully.
Yeah. So what's happening is, like, if he owns the home in his mind, right, he can disagree with anything he doesn't like.
Right.
And then to you, it's like, but he's just walking past. I'm like, right, but you don't like it.
Right.
It's just that simple. If he believes it's his home,
yeah,
he can make whatever rules he wants, and it doesn't matter if they're silly rules or whatever. He's like, yeah, I don't care. I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's just the same thing. If you own your own home, you can make your own rules.
Right.
Right. And a lot of times people are like, yeah, like I own the home, but my dog is the one that really owns the home.
Right.
I can't have people come over, think.
Yeah.
So.
And I don't want that because he doesn't own the home. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm in charge. You live with me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to be more in control of him as well. Like,
What are you trying to do, like a in person? What is your thought process on the training approach?
I just want him to change. I need him to not be attacking people's feet.
Sure.
That's what I really need. I've been trying to work with him. I've been, he's just.
Did your previous trainer show you how to correct him?
I mean, she just kind of like, not this behavior. She told me that I needed to, I forgot the name of the therapy that he needed to correct the behavior. Is there like a name that I forgot the name that she told me, that he needed to see more of a behavioral trainer.
I see. I mean, that makes total sense.
She just was like, okay, if I tell him to go in the crate and stay, like that type of stuff.
So it's obedience.
Yeah.
So obedience training is sit, stay down, place, whatever.
Right.
Behavior is don't bark at people, don't bite my aunt's feet, stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah. So I understand. Okay. And now, did you hire this trainer because of his behavior, or was it like?
Well, initially I just started doing the puppy training, and then when he was doing this still, she came to the home. She kind of like was like, doing in-home training, but it wasn't really to correct this. Like, it was kind of like not reacting to the doorbell and stuff like that.
Okay.
But this hasn't, I haven't been able to, find someone to help me correct
Okay.
this.
Well, the good news is I know how to correct it.
Okay.
Okay. This is what I do. I built my career on these kinds of dogs. So part of the reason why it's not been able to be corrected is he hasn't been bitten yet.
He has.
Well, I mean, yeah, from the dog,
Yeah.
from you though.
Okay.
Like you haven't bitten him yet, right? So that's if he tried to do this nonsense, for example, to another dog and that dog nipped him, they're telling him you're not going to do that with me. Now, whether or not he respects it is a different thing, right? But no one in his, I would say, like human-wise, has corrected him in a way that he understands. That tells him you're not going to do this, and
Right.
that's where the problem lies.
And that's, I'm like, oh, I put him in this cage. I'm like, what can I do?
Yeah, because dogs don't do that. Like another dog doesn't say go to timeout.
Right.
Right. That's a human thing. Dogs don't self-reflect either.
Right.
He's in the now. He's in the like he's like forgotten about me now, right? Whereas earlier he was like just focusing on me. Part of it is before I touched him, he was barking at me. He's like, I don't trust you. I don't know you, right? Like back off. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna touch you anyways.
Right.
So I did the thing he didn't want, and I stayed there until he relaxed. So he's like, but then what he also learned is I'm not a threat because I didn't hurt him in that time. So I got him over the the anticipation, you know?
Right.
It's like you ever been to a haunted house?
Right.
You go in there and like knowing you're gonna get scared, even though you know it's fake.
Right.
Right? And then you touch something a little weird that doesn't feel, or like something brushes up against you, and right? You outlet all that emotion. It's kind of similar. He comes in thinking like, oh, who's gonna hurt me, right? So then he sees me. He's like, you're probably gonna hurt me, or whatever. I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna touch you now. And he's like, oh, you're touching me. I'm attacking you. You're not backing away, but also you're not hurting me. And then finally, when I left once he had settled. I didn't leave while he was still like this.
Right.
If I leave while he's like this, well, then I'm just reinforcing it.
Right. Right.
So I rewarded him by leaving when he settled down. You know, so that's all stuff that the dog is picking up on. And this is without me even having to correct him. So that's where the e-collar comes in, because it allows you to correct him without having to have him physically. It also, he doesn't know where it's coming from, which is probably like one of the biggest pros to the remote collar, is if a dog's flipping out on me because they're scared of me or whatever, and then I correct them, to a degree, it kind of just reinforces what they were thinking anyways, right? Because if the dog's like, oh, I'm scared of you because you might hurt me, and then I correct them, which causes physical discomfort, the dog's like, see, that's why I was scared of you.
Right.
Right? But the remote collar, he doesn't know where it's coming from. I could have the remote, you could have the remote, Nathaniel can have the remote. So what ends up happening is he's being aggressive, we correct him, and then he stops being aggressive, and then he's like, okay, I became aggressive, this thing turned on, I stopped being aggressive, that thing turned off, the person I was barking at is still here, and I'm completely fine.
Okay.
Like it helps him start to see the situation and go like, oh, maybe I don't have to be this way. Okay.
Right.
Now there's more to it, but that's like the gist of it. That's
Right.
the simplified version of it.
Right.
Is consequences are meant to deter things,
Right.
but they have to be done correctly. You know, because I get clients that come, they're like, Jesse, I am disciplining my dog. Like I spank my dog, or I hit my dog with the newspaper, or I do this, or I do that. I put them in the cage for timeout. I'm like, great, but all of those things are in a way that the dog doesn't understand. You know, if they don't understand it, then nothing's going to change.
Right.
Okay. So, question on any of that stuff.
No. So let's say I have some guests over my house, right? And he has the e-collar, and he's getting, reactive, and I do the shock collar thing. Is that how it's supposed to be done?
No. So there's more to that particular context. Before we do any behavioral remote collar work, there has to be conditioning.
Okay.
Conditioning is what teaches him how it turns on and how it turns off. It's the most important part of the training. Okay. I do get clients that come to me already with their dog on the e-collar, and they think like, oh, the dog's just barking, I just shock him, right? I'm like, kinda, but if you don't do the conditioning, the dog doesn't know why it's happening, and it can make the behavior worse. So imagine you go outside and you find a ticket on your car, right? And you look at the ticket and you're like, what's the reason? But there's no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the next day you wake up and you go out and there's a ticket on your car. There's no reason, right? What's going to start happening?
You just gonna toss it.
You're going to toss it.
Like,
How do I get angry?
right.
Right? Why am I getting a ticket? How do I avoid getting this ticket?
Right.
You have to understand.
Yeah.
You know, so like when I run a red light and I get that camera flash, you know, and I see the check in the mail, or not check, the
bill.
right? The bill, right?
Right.
I don't like it, but I go, well, I know why it happened. Right?
Yeah.
So same thing for him. When that negative happens, he has to know why it's happening.
Okay.
Okay. So, and in the context of people coming over, there's a right and wrong way of having people come over. Okay. Any other dog, you know, I'm sure you've maybe been to a friend's house, you'll knock, you'll hear the dog barking. They open the door and the dog sees you and they just do this.
Right.
Right? Because they're still being territorial. The bark is territorial. The
Right.
bark is, hey, somebody is here.
Right.
But when they open the door and if that dog likes people, the dog goes, oh, hey, right? They just change the demeanor. You have a dog that happens to stay stuck in territorial behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then it escalates.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So in the animal world, it's not natural. Like, you ever seen, it was going around social media, it was a map of wolf packs that they were chasing, and they marked them with different colors, and it was like red, green, orange, blue, or something, and they don't overlap. You might see a straggler, but then you see it go right back to its territory. They don't overlap.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so having guests in the animal world, like it's very unnatural.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for him, when people come over, like it's an unnatural thing.
Right.
So you have to communicate with them, telling them, hey, this guest right now is my guest. If you don't like it, I don't care. You're not going to act out. You're going to behave yourself.
Right.
And I'm going to bring this person in.
Right.
But there's communication there.
Okay.
Okay. Because when you communicate that way, essentially you're telling them this person is trustworthy.
Right.
Right. So then he's like, oh, okay, well, if you think they're trustworthy, then I'll give some time.
Right.
I'll think they're trustworthy.
Right.
That's how we build relationships. That's how we build trust.
Right.
It's not, if you just have the person come in and he misbehaves and you just shock him and there's no conversation, he's like, I don't know why this happened. And if anything, he might think it happened because of the person, because it happened when they came in.
Mm-hmm.
He's not thinking it's him causing and what he's doing causing the car to go on.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's why the conditioning is important. And that's all stuff that I can show you.
Mm-hmm.
If it was like, oh, he sees somebody walking by the window and he barks, can I just correct him? To a degree, yes, because we don't care how he feels about the person outside.
Right.
Right? But the people that come into your home, you do care about.
Yeah.
Usually friends and family.
Right.
Right? So that we want to do correctly. There's other stuff I'm like, I don't care how the dog feels about the person. We're going to just correct them, and whether they like them or not, they're just not going to do it. Okay, it's a little bit different. Questions on any of that?
That sounds about what I'm trying to do.
Okay. Now, how much time you yourself do you have to be able to implement the training and do the exercises?
Right now I have a little time. I do travel for work.
Okay.
So that's why I was considering the because when I talk the boarding, I want to be there so that he knows, so that I also learn what to do,
Yeah.
and I guess he does fine without me, but he is aggressive. Like when I board him, when I travel, he's noted as aggressive, and I know he's loves me so much, he gets sad without me. So I don't know.
So, he could do a board train or he could do it in person. Okay. Regardless of whatever program you do, there will always be work on your part. Okay.
Okay.
Follow through with the training and stuff. It's not a lot of work. I don't know if you heard with my last client, I was like, especially now, with Google and people lead very busy lives, right? They don't have a whole lot of time to dedicate
Right.
to training. But that's the beauty of the e-collar,
Mm-hmm.
is that, even if a client only dedicates, 30, 45 minutes a day for walking their dog or whatever, it's going to make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, oh, I have to dedicate 3 hours out of my day to do this. You do your training as you live with him,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you're one day working from home and you're gonna have to do some calls, or whatever, he could be on his bed not moving.
Right. Because that's what I need. Because he's won't give me any space sometimes. It's just kind of, I'm like, just stay there. Like, I don't need you on me on all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
So that's something that we can cover too. So if you're doing in person, once you learn how to do it, it's just do it as you live your life. Every time you take them out for a walk, you're utilizing the training, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're working from home, you're using the training. You're having guests come over, you're using your training, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you're using it regularly.
Mm-hmm.
But the e-collar allows you to use it kind of like right away, as opposed to other training where it's like you have to kind of practice in your own time
Right.
over and over again, and then one day you hope like it'll work today, and a lot of times it doesn't work because if the dog's too stressed or under in a defensive state, they're not going to care about the food or whatever.
Right.
And that's
Right.
what e-collar comes into
Right.
play.
Right. Because
Okay.
I'm like, oh, darn, I forgot treats. But I'm like,
Now, will
sometimes the treats don't work.
will he need a place to board, or do you keep bringing him to the original place?
I mean, if they can do training and boarding, then I would, I'm just so used to bringing him to the other place. That's where his vet is. So it's kind of like a
I
vet
see.
boarding type thing.
Sure. So the only reason why I asked is, like, for example, Franklin, the other Frenchie I'm talking about, they went to a different daycare first, and he got kicked out because I guess in group he went after
Right,
another
with the
dog.
aggression.
And then we had him here, he did completely fine. So he's super easy.
Right.
If you go on our Instagram, if you go
Okay.
back like a couple of weeks, like you'll
Okay.
see like his video.
Okay.
He's a light tan
Okay.
Frenchie,
Okay.
but he's in group. He's just chilling.
Yeah.
Like he's a completely chill guy or whatever. But he was able to be in group when he comes to us.
Is he neutered or spayed? Neutered? Is it spayed or neutered?
He is neutered, but that doesn't matter to us.
Okay.
Yeah. The only thing that matters.
I just want him to be. I do want him to be more social.
And like, if we can get him to be social, like if you brought him here, he can be social here, but then not with you, because that's a.
Oh.
Now, if
Okay.
you want me to help you learn how to make him more social, like how to socialize him, I can do that.
Okay.
Right, but this only pertains to like dogs that he would see. Like, let's say you have a family member who's got a dog, right? Or like if the town's like, oh, you want to socialize him with Blue or something, right?
Yeah.
Like, because especially in that case, because both owners would have control over both dogs.
Right.
That's going to be more successful. The reason why Franklin could be social here is because this is a controlled environment, right? So he's more relaxed, as opposed to the other daycare, which was an uncontrolled environment, and everything was just like chaotic, and then he just like went off.
Right.
Okay. But yeah, I've helped clients in the past. I've helped them socialize their dogs, and like their dog has been able to make a dog friend or two, because it's more realistic to think, oh, I can socialize them with this dog, so I'm gonna see this dog over and over again, as opposed to I'm walking and I see the random person.
Yeah.
Right. So if he's not social with dogs he sees on the street, I'm like, I don't care, but I don't want him lunging at dogs
Yeah.
and barking at them.
He doesn't do too much lunging. I don't know what vibe he gets off, but they always just lunge at him. Like, I don't know.
It might be his energy, because like when you came in, it was kind of like this, and it could may have been also from like the weather, right, from the heat
Yeah.
and stuff. And then because this puppy started barking at him,
Right.
because sometimes dogs react to energy.
Mm.
Okay, so like even puppy energy. If you see a puppy and they're like this, right, and you look at it like, oh, it's a silly puppy. Another dog may not like that energy.
Right.
Okay, and they'll bark at it. So that's a possibility, but won't know until actively like working with him.
Yeah.
Okay. So here we do have board and train options, and we have in-person options. So it really just comes down to what your preference would be.
Right. What do you think?
Well, anyway,
What do you think with this behavior? What will be more beneficial? Because, I do travel for work right now. I'm not traveling right now.
how long are you not traveling for?
Right now, I don't know. Right now, maybe 2 weeks to 2 to 4 weeks.
Oh, wow.
I'll be here.
So a short window. I gotcha. So in-person typically is best in the sense that you learn more, because I'm teaching you to teach him.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay. So that's the pro.
Okay.
The con is it's just going to take longer, right? Especially with behavioral stuff, because you have to get all the groundwork done, and then it's like, okay, now that we've got the groundwork done, now we're going to turn around and start addressing behaviors. Okay, and I try to get to the behaviors as soon as I can, but I have to be sure that we cover all our grounds. Otherwise, we're just working against ourselves if it's not done correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. With the board and train option, um, the con would be I can't guarantee we'll see the same problems, right? Because it sounds like at the other place that they can handle them fine. It's just he can't be with the other dogs.
He can't be with other dogs because he's not
Neutered.
neutered. But I don't know how they handle him. Even I've boarded him a few other places. He doesn't like anybody in his territory. It's what it sounds like. Like if you come by the cage or things like that, it's been like an issue. So I don't really know what goes on in boarding.
I see.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
I could just imagine he just don't like anybody. He don't like anybody in his space.
Sure. And like, so if that's the case, if he shows us stuff, we can correct it.
Right.
If he doesn't show us stuff, then we can't correct it.
Right.
But that's where you get follow-ups. So with the board and trains, like I would train them, my staff would train them.
Right.
And then once you pick them up, you get follow-ups.
Okay.
Right. And then you also get videos.
Okay.
So for each week that we have a dog, you get one video.
Okay.
And it covers all the obedience stuff. And you would watch that. So it shows you how to implement your training. And then you get follow-ups, which are one-on-one lessons with me, in case you're struggling with an obedience command, or if it's like, hey, Jesse, video's great. We're doing all the obedience. It's great, no problem. But I still can't have people come into my home. All right, let me show you. So you can use the follow-up to cover things like that. Okay. Whereas with an in-person, you're doing all the work essentially. I'm just showing you, and we're building over time. And then when you're ready, it's like, hey, Jesse, show me how to have people come over.
Okay.
And then you would cover that. Okay.
Cause that's what I'm thinking. Like he's good with the obedience. You know what I'm saying? But like, I don't know. Cause I travel. I need him to be good at boarding. Like I need him to like not try to attack the people. Thankfully, this place isn't like, oh, he can't be here. But like I've gone places and it was like, oh, if he does it again, he can't come.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
the only time we have that happen is like in cases where I've not trained the dog and we've had repeated incidents. Like we had a dog who'd been coming here for like 3 years. And then we had a number of incidents with her. I never trained her. And they did a consultation. And then we didn't hear from him for like 6-7 months. And then one day the dog just jumped up and like hit the employee that left on him. Muzzle punched him, knocked the wind out of him.
wow.
And I was like, all right, we can't do this anymore, because too much of a risk.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing is, let's say he did the training here and he's great here, doesn't mean he'll be great at the other place. Because, not to talk shit, but a lot of places don't know what they're doing. Right? So like I have 35 dogs here and it's quiet.
Right.
Okay.
And I see like, when they walk past with the dogs, they're like, in formation with the handler.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's not,
structured.
it seems structured.
Yeah. So that's why I was like, for example, with Franklin, partially why we didn't have a problem with them is because it's structured.
Are they doing
They did in person.
in person?
Yeah, because he was attacking the other dog. So I think it was 2 weekends ago, we did the in-home where we covered, because he would attack the trash bag and they would pick up the trash bag. He would attack the Roomba. He'd attack the other dog. He'd attack the other dog if they were going to put the leashes on and they were running to get the leash on. He'd go after the other dog, right? So we had a class where we covered all those things. And so far he's doing great. So, every case is different. His was very straightforward. It's funny because Franklin, the problem dog, was easy. And now they're training the other dog, and he's more difficult. But he was easy in the sense that he didn't have any aggression. Franklin on the leash will bark at or used to bark at other dogs. He was attacking obviously his Winston, the other dog in the home.
Right.
Whereas Winston is like easy going, but when it comes to the training, he's difficult. So every case is different. But yeah, you could do either or. Now, if you did in person, right, and I saw you for 3 to 4 weeks, like in a row, like that's good because now we have a foundation down. And then like if you're traveling for a couple of weeks and then I don't see you until 2 weeks later, it doesn't impact the training. It just slows things down a bit because if you're traveling, then I'm only seeing you every now and then obviously you're not being able to reinforce the training and stuff like that. So that might slow things down, but you'll still make progress. Okay.
Now, how long is the in-house boarding, like the boarding training?
It's up to you. It's in terms of like how far do you want him to be, like how much progress do you want him to make? Okay. and also like how much follow-up would you like. So the longer a board and train is, the more follow-ups you get. Okay, a 1 week board and train is one video. It's roughly about 2.5-ish hours long. 1 hour lesson with me. A 2 week program would be 2 videos. The second video is usually 45 minutes to an hour, and then you get 3 follow-up lessons. A 3 week board and train, 3 videos. Last video is usually about half an hour. 5 lessons, and then the 4 week you get 7 lessons, and then another half an hour video.
And he will stay here that whole time?
Mm-hmm. Or you can split it up.
Okay.
So if you have a couple of trips coming up, and maybe they're going to be 3 weeks, whatever, and you can have them here for 2 weeks, and then you take them, and then you can schedule the final week when you have another trip.
Okay.
So you can do that as well.
Okay.
But the only thing is that they have to be done in weeks. So you can do 1 week, 2 week, 3 week at a time. We don't do 2 days here and 3 days here.
Yeah.
Because we need at least a week to make sure we get everything straight. But if you said, I want a 4 week program, but I want to do 2 weeks here, a week here, and then a week here because I have travel, well, you'll no problem.
Okay.
And then it's cheaper up front if you pay for the 4 weeks.
Okay.
And you split it up as opposed to doing 2 weeks and coming back to pay for those individually.
Okay.
It's way more expensive if you split it up as opposed to if you just pay up front.
That's what I'm thinking, because at this point, I don't know. That's why I have like, please do not pet, because.
The other thing is harnesses provoke reactivity. They can also provoke more aggression.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Because somebody was like, oh, don't put him around his neck, because when I would walk him, like, I was taught to, like, feed him so he can walk on my side, but I let him, like, go in front of me. Sometimes lately he has been, like, pulling a little bit, like, like he gets excited to be in the grass or something like that. But I don't know.
Yeah, with the harnesses, in protection training, which is where we teach a dog to be aggressive on command, we use harnesses. Because it allows the dog to lunge at the person without putting any pressure on the dog.
Okay.
And it creates tension and frustration, which then over the course of time can create reactivity and aggression. So he would be on a standard flat collar with the remote collar.
Okay.
And then, you wouldn't need the harness anymore. If you want to have the please do not pet, there's a thing that attaches to the leash. It's like a yellow strap or whatever, and it does the same exact thing. So you don't have to worry about losing, that little that warning sign there.
Okay.
And they're like $10-15 on Amazon or something. Okay. So how long the program is depends on how well trained you want him to be.
I want him a soldier, like Blue, a soldier.
Because Blue, I trained Blue for I think we worked together for like 1.5 years to 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But it was back then, because I trained Blue as a puppy, what I did at the time was if they trained the puppy, started young and just continued to renew, it was a cheaper rate or something like that. And then once he got to the e-collar, then he did the final stages or whatever. Whereas now I don't do puppies anymore. I just do the big boy training. I do this stuff. But yeah, if you want him to be fully trained, then that's like a 4-week program.
That's a 4-week program. Okay.
Now the minimum is a 2-week program. Like, let's say you would like him to have a place to board where he would have more activity. So, for example, if you look up on our TV here, there's dogs on beds laying down. Can you see them on the top right there?
This one?
Yeah, top right.
Oh, yeah.
And if you look in the very top right, you can see some dogs on treadmill.
Okay.
And then on the bottom where that mop bucket is,
Yeah.
that's where the group is. So there's like 2 pens where the dogs can play and
Okay.
stuff. So, we see how he does. But, here at minimum, he would be taken out. We get to see stuff going on. We can try him in group. If he does well in group, he would be in group. We also reinforce the training. So if he came back for boarding, whatever he was taught is implemented here. Okay? That's just a part of how we run things. Okay? And if he's capable of doing treadmill, then we'll do treadmill with him as well, so he gets his daily exercise. Okay. And all of that just comes standard to our boarding. Okay. So if he's done at least a minimum of a 2-week boarding train, he's welcome to board whenever you need to.
Okay.
Dogs who have not trained with us are required to do daycare for once a week. Okay. Just as FYI. If he did a 4-week boarding train, then obviously he more than meets the requirement to board with us.
Right.
But that's just if you're kind of thinking about how you want to approach it. The minimum here is 2 weeks of a boarding trip, and then you're welcome to bring him to board whenever.
Okay.
Other questions?
No, that's my main concern. I want to be like able to sit, people come in my home, sit down, and he just is not, you know.
Cujo. The next thing would be I can only take it as far as you're willing to go. So like let's say for whatever example, he's very tough to the e-collar and he has a very high number. If you're not willing to go to that number to correct and stop him, then he's not going to change. Okay. Frenchies are tough dogs, because of the bulldog family.
Yeah.
So it's not uncommon that a Frenchie will take a lot of pressure before they'll finally stop.
Yeah. I don't mind pressure because he needs to stop because he's not a bully. I mean, he's a bully, but he's not gonna bully me or anybody.
Right.
That's kind of my outlook.
Sure.
And yeah, I don't know.
The other thing is, like clients will ask, like, when does the e-collar go away? In my book, when you need it, it doesn't. Okay.
Oh, it doesn't.
It doesn't. So if you're gonna have guests come over, you're gonna have the collar on.
Okay.
If you're gonna be out walking him, or if you're gonna be off leash, you're gonna have the collar on.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you're home with him, no one's coming over and he's a great dog, you don't need it.
Okay.
Reason for this is opportunistic behavior. I don't know if you heard me with the other people, but do you drive? Do you go on the expressway? Do you go the speed limit?
No.
Do you see a squad car? What happens?
Slow down.
You pass a squad car and it's clear. What happens?
Oh, I'm good. I'm back on the road.
Exactly. Right? That's opportunistic.
Right.
Behavior.
Right.
So if he doesn't have the collar on and your aunt comes over, he's like, "What happens if I buy her toast today?"
Yeah.
Right. So if there's no consequence, and then he's going to become a gambler. Okay. So it has nothing to do with my skills as a trainer or anything like that. That's just the way of the world. If he can do something and not be giving a consequence or be corrected, like why not try it then? Okay. So, but you shouldn't always have to press the button. It's simply present in case something happens. Right? If you find yourself always pressing the button all the time, then you're doing something wrong.
Okay.
Almost always, it's the client is too low in the collar. Okay, because they feel bad. Right. So they will, like, I'll tell them just go to 50 and get it done, and then I'll come back and they're like, oh, we're at 25 and the dog's still being reactive. I'm like, well, yeah, because I told you to go to 50, and you don't want to go to 50. And that's not me. That's the owner not trying to do what's necessary to curb the behavior.
Right.
Okay. So, but yeah, because people always ask, like, when does the dog learn to be a good dog? No, that's not a thing. Like, that's just something that humans have created. He will be a good dog if you're doing a good job reinforcing it.
And that's why I'm like, I think outside of him, nipping, I think he's a good dog.
I hear that all the time. I was a great dog, except when he like bites people, or when he like destroys my house.
Right.
Yeah, like that. To me, I was like, a good dog is a dog that doesn't do that stuff, is obedient. But even here, you see how he's just like kind of chilled out a lot. Now, if I get up and move, he might trigger. Like right now, he's like,
or if you dangle your foot in front of his face, he's not gonna like that.
And we can correct that too.
Yeah.
We can push that.
That's push it till it's gone. Like that. Those are the things like I am looking to get corrected.
Any other questions?
No. Should I not be sleeping with him? Is that also a...
It's not a problem, except like, let's say you have a significant other.
And I want to correct, yeah.
And then like, let's say he's in the bed with you and they try to come back in bed and he's like, I'm not having it.
Yeah.
That's where it becomes a problem.
And I want to correct that.
So easiest way to approach that would be not allowing him in the bed.
He cries and then that pulls
that.
out my heartstrings.
We correct that.
Okay. Because we got a new house and it's some new house rules.
No. So, because like right there, you're like, oh, it pulls my heartstrings when he cries.
I
right?
know it
that
does.
softness is what incentivizes or empowers him to protect you more. If that makes sense. Okay. But for me, I'm like, I don't care. If the dog cannot be a good dog and be in the bed and not harass my significant other, then they can't be in the bed.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But it's not. If you remove that from him, he's not going to be like, "Damn, mom's so mean." Like that's not a thing that dogs do. Dogs don't do that.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the human. You make these things up in our heads. Okay. So, but yeah, things like that. There's certain things that I'll care about. There's certain things that I won't care about. Okay. That one I don't care about. But I'm assuming you'll want to have a significant other at some point. If you
Right.
don't have one already.
Exactly. And I don't want him in the bed. And they may not want him in the bed either.
Right.
But I don't want him in the bed because his hair gets everywhere now.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, I don't want that. So it's just really just sitting him in there. Should I have him in the room?
He can be in the room. Only thing, and this is a future problem, right? Is like, let's say he's in the room, he's on his dog bed, and significant other gets up to use the bathroom.
Oh.
Is that he might trigger there, right? Now we can correct it. The problem is it's now 1 o'clock in the morning, and we're not going to have the collar on the dog or something, right? And technically speaking, that should go away once he builds trust with that person, okay? But I've also seen it in the past where the dog's like, sure, I trust you, but I'm still gonna fucking bark at you when you get up in the middle of the night.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so, but yeah, that's a future thing. But he could still technically be in the room. It just depends on how all that works out. And we won't know until we're there.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Other questions?
No.
So then it just comes down to how you want to approach it. Okay. So you can think about it, mull it over. If we're going like an in-person route, I'd put you at around a 9 to 12 classes. Okay. The reason why it's longer is because we have to revisit obedience with e-collar for conditioning, and then we want to have enough classes to target all these behaviors. Okay. Now, behavior is pretty straightforward. It's just correct that you don't want. But his is going to be a little bit more nuanced because he's guarding you, right? He's territorial over the home. Probably territorial over the bed. If somebody else is trying to.
Yeah, well, we haven't experienced that yet.
Okay.
Anybody else getting in the bed?
Yeah.
Because it's just me and him right now.
Sure.
So he hasn't experienced. We haven't experienced. I don't even know how he even would react.
Yeah. So that's all remains to be seen, right? So with the board and train, technically speaking, if you want him to be like on blues level, the 12-week is up there, and then the 4-week is the equivalent of the 12. But minimum is 2 weeks if you want to just have a place that he can board and like be able to have a more engaging stay as opposed to most places we call these isolation dogs. They're either kept in a kennel all day, or if they go out there by themselves and they're back in the kennel the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas here, they do treadmill, they do place. If he's not social, because we can't make him social with dogs, he has ISO time, but he's usually in most places, isolation is isolation. Whereas for us, ISO pen is in the same room, so he can still see stuff going on.
Okay.
If he's not social with dogs, then we just can't have him with the dogs.
Right.
But he's still there seeing things happen.
Yeah.
As opposed to just being kept by himself away all the time.
Yeah, and that's what I think he is at that other boarding place, which I really don't want him to be isolated.
Well, the other thing about that is that it becomes a feedback loop, right? Because, like, let's say, for you, or for a lot of people in your shoes, when they get a dog like this, they don't have as many people come over, right? Or actually, I just finished the German Shepherd that was here for 2 weeks. We just moved here. And Lay's like, I haven't had a boyfriend because I have this dog. And like this dog doesn't like anybody. I'm like, well, don't worry. I'm like, you'll get a boyfriend soon enough because I have it all the time. Once I train a dog, all of a sudden they get a boyfriend, they get a girlfriend because now they can have people come over, But what happens is they get isolated and they become more antisocial. But then once you follow through and start doing the implementing the training, all of a sudden it's like he has a more engaging life. Because you can actually include him and stuff.
Yeah.
And not have to put him away because he's barking at people.
Yeah, because I tried to go to the store. We went to Lowe's and he just acted a fool in Lowe's. I'm like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I've seen this all before, so nothing new to me.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
So Tina will send you a breakdown
Okay.
of like the prices and stuff.
Okay.
I would put them on the big boy collar. It's the same collar that I put on Franklin because, again, Frenchies, they can be super tough. And you'd rather have it and not have to worry about it instead of trying to do a smaller collar. And then I've had dogs where they're so aggressive that the collar doesn't even phase them. Okay. And that one after taxes, and you do get a discount if you get it through us, it's 10% discount. It drops from $340 to $300 additional tax. They last a really, really long time. I had my collars for 10 years before I had to replace them. Every now and then, because of the electronic, you might get a dud, but it comes with a 1-year warranty. And in most cases, that's super, super rare.
Okay.
Anything else?
So the e-collar is included in the boarding or is separate? Okay.
Separate, yeah. Other questions?
No, just wait to see what Tina sends and then kind of go from there.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Okay, no problem. If you have any questions you may forgot to ask, you can email Tina. If they pertain to me, I'll answer it, and then she'll send you what I said or whatever. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. If you're doing in person, it's usually same time every week for an hour, and then you would just let her know, hey, I have these trips coming up, so she knows, okay, you're not going to be here these certain weekends.
Okay.
And then we would just reschedule what have you. It's not the biggest deal. It's just, it'll slow things down a little bit, but we'll
Okay.
still talk about it.
And if I do the in-house training boarding, like how do dogs do who have separation anxiety? Because I think I mean, when I leave, he cries, but I think he's okay. But
I mean, if he did anything, we'd correct him.
okay.
So, yeah, that's not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah. None of the stuff that he's doing is a problem here.
Okay.
Okay. Because that's like, with the boarding train, like, let's say he was, like, not letting staff handle him. But it doesn't matter because we're here for boarding training. We're gonna do it. So then I know I got to work on these problems. So it happens. We don't. This is why we require dogs to come to us regularly if we haven't trained them, because we have to build their trust and all that stuff in some cases, right? And seeing them regularly allows us to keep up that trust. Whereas with dogs like Snookie here, if we've never met them before, but they're being dropped off for boarding training, it doesn't matter if he's being aggressive. It doesn't matter if he's being, separation anxiety or whatever, because he's here for training, so we can correct all the behaviors.
Okay. Okay.
Anything else?
Mm-mm.
All right. Well, I'm gonna get up.